Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. Missing children and burial information. We call upon all chief coroners and provincial vital statistics agencies that have not provided to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada their records on the deaths of Aboriginal children in the care of residential school authorities to make these documents available to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. We call upon the federal government to allocate sufficient resources to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation, to allow it to develop and maintain the National Residential School Student Death Register established by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. We call upon the federal government to work with churches, Aboriginal communities, and former residential school students to establish and maintain an online registry of residential school cemeteries, including, where possible, plot maps showing the location of deceased residential school children. We call upon the federal government to work with the churches and Aboriginal community leaders to inform the families of children who died at residential schools of the children's burial location, and to respond to families' wishes for appropriate commemoration ceremonies and markers and reburial in home communities where requested. We call upon the federal government to work with provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, churches, Aboriginal communities, former residential school students, and current landowners to develop and implement stages and procedures for the ongoing identification, documentation, maintenance, commemoration, and protection of residential school cemeteries or other sites at which residential school children were buried. This is to include the provision of appropriate memorial ceremonies and commemorative markers to honor the deceased children. We call upon the parties engaged in the work of documenting, maintaining, commemorating, and protecting residential school cemeteries to adopt strategies in accordance with the following principles. First, the Aboriginal community most affected shall lead the development of such state strategies. Second, information shall be sought from residential school survivors and other knowledge keepers in the development of such strategies. Third, Aboriginal protocols shall be respected before any potentially invasive technical inspection and invasion of a cemetery site.